Hello, I'm Asif Farouk and I'm here with Andrew Tarver of Boldrocket. Andrew, thank you for joining us. So, customer centricity, engaging with the bank and redefining the customer experience. Those are some phrases that we hear a lot over the last 2 years especially. Do you think banks are actually listening to their customers and what do you think it is that the customers actually want?
So I think the phrase customer is kind of the good starting point for here. A lot of people refer to customers, consumers, because we've been brought up consuming the products and services that have been offered by the banks, by the corporates. And actually in the future, based on the way that we're going with data and technology, I'm more of the belief that the banks and the corporates will start to become the consumers to the public. So you'll have to consume my data, you'll have to consume my preferences, my beliefs, what I want from you, and you'll have to create products based on what I am asking for. And I won't ask for it physically anymore, I will ask for it digitally through my data, through the information I capture. And it's for you to be able to interpret that and then provide the services and the products on the back of it. So I think there is a lot of lip service being played still to the customer, and treating the customer as a customer shows that it is lip service. When they start to treat the relationship the other way around, you'll start to see a big change.
So startups, disruptive tech, it's always getting a lot of press exposure, but what role do you think it will play in the financial services ecosystem as a whole? And do you think they're competition for banks, or do you think they can work in a collaborative way?
I think the startup community is a good challenge. As you say, it's the cool phrase at the moment, as in everyone wants to be associated with these new up and coming organisations. I think there's a couple of things, some myths that need to be addressed. One is a lot of startups fail. That's a good thing. Most big projects in banks fail. So there is a correlation, there is a similarity between the startup community and banks in one way. But actually failing in a bank costs a huge amount of money and probably costs a lot of jobs, or reputation, bonus, etc. And actually what we've done over the last 10, 15 years is talk about no errors, high efficiency, delivery of the big project. That's the banking culture. The startup culture is we can start something and fail it within 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, or we can repivot, we can do something different. And actually the expense on that could be 50 grand, 20 grand versus 50 million, 20 million. So I think the thing that banks can learn from the startups is you can start something and you can fail it for a minimum amount of money. You can start something and repivot and rechange direction very quickly. Startups will help the R&D of banks. So the research and development doesn't need to be done by the banks anymore because they're not very good at it. They spend too much money trying to do that. The startups actually provide a vehicle to think about technology differently, have a very customer-centric, people-centric view of the world and try and solve a specific problem. The banks try and solve their own problem and then fulfill also the business case of making the money that they've made previously, so the same business model. Startups will think about the world differently and deliver quickly or fail quickly, which is where I think the banks can learn a lot.
Okay. And banks obviously provide a lot of commodity services, payment processing, deposits. What can a bank do to be different and stand out with value-added services?
So I think linking the first two questions to that, the third one, I think a bank in the future will be something which provides some of those commodity services very well, but also differently. So treat an individual as an individual, understand their needs and provide products which are tailored to that individual. Not a group of individuals, not a customer segment. Banks are very good at segmenting people. If I provide you with my data and my preferences, my needs, etc., tailor me a product, a mortgage, an account, a card, which actually it satisfies my need around loyalty, around the way I live my life, or my community lives their lives. So that's the first part. I think the second part is in the future, a bank shouldn't be doing a lot of the R&D and the front-end development. That should be where the startups come in. So actually a bank should focus on its core capability being potentially product development, services, and some of the utility processing, and actually should move away from some of the things that startups could try and do for them, such as the digital channels, the new services, products, etc. New services, etc.